Really quickly, here is an integer creature that I use to help my students with integer multiplication and division. I've also heard it called the integer face or the Mickey Mouse. You can call it whatever you want. I just wanted to give a quick demonstration on how it's used. So when I draw mine, it looks like this, and in one ear we have a multiplication symbol and in another ear we have a division symbol. These are not used in the process, they're just there to remind my students that, hey, these are the only times you can use this rule. It does not apply for addition and subtraction. So inside the face we have two negative signs, two like sleepy eyes, and a plus sign, which is, I don't know, a mouth or a nose, whatever your kids want to call it. And the way I use it is when we have problems like this. 4 times negative 5. It does work for this because it is multiplication. Okay, I can use this creature. Is my 4 negative or positive? It's positive, so I'm going to cross out the positive. What about my 5? Is it positive or negative? It is negative. Cross out a negative sign. Then I can multiply like I would if they were both positive integers. 4 times 5 is 20, and then I use the sign that remains in my creature face. So my answer there is negative 20. This should not be the primary explanation for students on why it is that multiplication or division with integers results in the positive or negative solution that it does, but it is a helpful trick to teach once you have already covered that. Let's try another one. Here's my creature. We'll do a division problem here. Negative 21 divided by negative 7. Now, students can do the 21 divided by 7 first or last. I tend to do it first just because if it's a multiple choice question, sometimes that can help you eliminate answer choices. 21 divided by 7 is 3. Now I'm going to take a look. This was a negative, so cross off one of those. This was also a negative, so I cross off the other negative. So my solution, my quotient there has to be positive 3. This is how I use the integer creature or the face or the Mickey Mouse or whatever you call it. Once I've already gone through with students, this is the rationale behind why negative divided by negative is positive. And I'm actually just going to include that rationale right now. So if you're already good with that, you can just turn this off. But if you want to hear the rationale that I give students before I teach this, which maybe I should have put at the beginning, but if you want to hear that, I'll keep going. All right, let's start with 4 times negative 5 again. So at the very beginning, the first day of 6th grade math, we teach our students that multiplication can be called groups of. So this is 4 groups of negative 5, and I can draw it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. In each one, there are 5 negatives. Sorry for the annoying little tapping sound. Okay, how many total negatives when we add them all up? Oh, wow, it's 20 negatives. There you go. If you have negative 4 times positive 5, you could you have two options here. You could say that this is the same thing as 5 groups of negative 4, and then you could draw 5 groups of 4 negatives in each one. Or you could also say that this is the opposite, because negatives are opposite of positives. You could say that this is the opposite of your answer of 4 groups of 5. Well, I can draw 4 groups of 5. I just did that, and that was 4 groups of 5, this 5 is positive, that would give me positive 20. The opposite of that is negative 20. Once we start getting into negative times or divided by negatives, I like to rely on the opposite instead of the groups of method or in addition to the groups of method, because the opposite of an opposite can get a little confusing to draw. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to stick with multiplication because I find that easier to explain and easier to draw. And then we can extrapolate into division if I feel like it. Let's say we'll keep with we'll try something new. -2 times -4. Okay, so with two negatives, or even with one negative, it can be hard for students to envision what it is they're supposed to draw. So you have the opposite of two groups. How do you have not two groups, or the opposite of two groups? Well, it gets a little confusing there. So one way to do it is to start by segmenting it like this. You have -2 groups of -4 in each group. That's -8. And then you can say, well, the opposite of that, because negative also means the opposite of -8 is +8. So you can say the opposite of the opposite of. So you could say 2 times 4 is 8. The opposite of that is -8. The opposite of that is +8. And that's another strategy I teach my students, and that really does help out when you have more than two terms. For example, -2 times 3 times -4 times -1. Okay, let's start out just doing the 2 times 3 is 6 times 4, ignoring the negative for right now. 6 times 4 is 24, times 1 is 24. Okay, so it's going to be 24. We'll decide if it's positive or negative now. So 24. The opposite of that is -24. No opposites. The opposite of that is +24. The opposite of that is -24. And so that's another strategy that you can walk your kids through. I'm going to pause there, and if anyone wants an additional video on how that can work with division, just shoot me an email.